everyone, my name is Xenia. I spent 24 hours in Barcelona and I'm gonna show you guys all the must-visit spots in the city. So this was not my first time in Barcelona, it was my second time, but the first time was 10 years ago. So it almost counts as the first time, I think, to an extent, and in some departments I would say so. This video is heavily influenced by my art lover perspective, but also if you're coming to Barcelona and you're not seeing any art, what are you even doing? Like, that's the city to go to museums. You could go to like 10 in 2 days if you wanted to, and every day have something new to see. So very heavily art influenced city and very art influenced video tour for you guys. So the first thing that I did in Barcelona after I flew in, showered, did all the things, became a human again, the first thing that I did out in Barcelona was actually, like, I don't want to say the entire reason that I came to Barcelona, but almost, kind of, because that was the number one place, location, attraction that I wanted to visit when I came to Barcelona. It's called Moco Museum, and it's a modern contemporary art museum, and their collection is not that large, but the way that it's handpicked and crafted, it's just astonishing. Every corner, there's so many amazing things to see. The selection is insane. They have Dali, Warhol, Basquiat, Banksy, Cause, just all the big modern / contemporary names, and it's just insane to see all those works in the same place. I really wanted to go there, and it did not disappoint. I'm gonna start the video just by saying that and going on record and saying that that was probably my favorite place that I visited in Barcelona. Just don't click off. You're like, oh, it's done, we can just leave now. No, but it was definitely the best. If you love modern art as much as I do, I would really recommend it. A bigger part of the reason why I wanted to go was because they have some artists that I've never seen the works of in real life. Before that, I'd never seen Banksy's works in real life. Before that, I'd never seen Basquiat's works in real life. So that was such a big thing to tick off your bucket list, all in one. They also had a ton of digital art installations, and obviously heavily influenced by the age of social media, lots of, photo, video opportunities. I'm also guilty of making 5 separate reels in this museum on my Instagram, which you guys again can check out. They also have Murakami, Lorca. I've also never seen Lorca's works in real life, and they're huge if you didn't know that. And it's just really immersive when you walk into the room and you see this huge artwork with all these details. So cool. Also again prompted me to read more on Basquiat and his life, which I've always appreciated his work, but I never knew that much about his life. And the displays that they actually have at the Moco Museum are very informative. You can read on the careers of the artists, their life, their collaborations with other artists. So it was actually an amazing experience, and it's also located in a very art heavy area of the city, so you can definitely kill several birds with one stone if you're a museum lover. Also some smaller galleries where you can actually purchase art. So if you're an art lover, definitely go there. I would 100% recommend. And you can actually buy tickets on the internet, so you don't have to queue, which in Barcelona, that's a bit of a persistent theme, which is very convenient actually. You get to cut the long line, and you get to experience, again, as much art in as little time as you can. And the second museum stop was actually not even planned. I didn't know there was a Picasso Museum basically next door, so we just really had to go. They have a ton of his works because most of the artworks have been donated directly to the museum by him when he was still alive, or by his widowed then wife. A lot of his ceramics, a ton of his sketches, just so many sketches, which again, from the viewpoint of the artist, I would see how that's so convenient. Can you imagine there's a museum dedicated to you and you're like, oh, I have all these sketches that I don't need anymore, that I've turned into larger artworks. Let me just bring this whole freaking folder of sketches to that museum, and they would be so happy about it, which they were. The building itself is really beautiful and traditional, by the way, too. So this one, again, specifically, if you're a Picasso lover, I would 100% recommend. They really did have a full spectrum of his artworks. Like I said, from his super early artworks when he was still in art school, to his sketches, to his ceramics, to even footage of costumes that he designed for ballets and performances. So it's a full experience, retrospect of Picasso. So if you're a fan of his work, definitely a must-visit place. Next spot that I really wanted to visit for the first time was Casa Batllo. When you think Barcelona, you definitely think Gaudi, famous architect. And again, spoiler in this video, I didn't go to Sagrada Familia, the famous cathedral that he designed, because I did go there last time, and also because it's a very touristy spot, and when you only have that much time, only the weekend, only 24 hours, I honestly would not even recommend going. I would recommend coming up to it, looking at it, and maybe not even going inside, because you're just gonna spend half a day there. Because even if you buy a fast pass, if it's the weekend, you're just gonna spend hours trying to get there, trying to walk through it. It's just a lot. It's undeniably gorgeous. It's a beautiful building, and it's something that you would want to see at least once in your life. But if you only have that much time, I wouldn't recommend going inside. So anyway, Casa Batllo. Gaudi is definitely in his more traditional ways and his more traditional expression, aside from Sagrada Familia, because Sagrada Familia is again very heavily religiously influenced, so there's only that much wiggle room that an artist could have. But his more traditional buildings is what you usually see in the books, on the internet, with the colorful tiles, with the colorful glass. So you're either a fan or you're not. I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but I do think it's a big part of the culture and it's a big part of the vibe of the city, so you really have to see it. Casa Batllo was gorgeous. It feels like something from A Dream on a Midsummer Night come alive. It's so whimsical, it's so light and airy, and it's so beautiful, and for the time it was progressive. It was never before seen. It was something out of this world. And I do love the way they handle museums in Barcelona, because they make the experience very interactive. There's almost like an augmented reality vibe where you can actually get one of those audio guides, but you actually get a tablet and you can look through the tablet and you can see the way that the house looked when it was first built, with the furnishings, with the way that, you know, it was decorated when it was first built. So that's really awesome too. And the first thing that you go through is this like light show, immersive, like biographical bit about Gaudi, where you can see him kind of like at the table designing the house. So that's really cool, and I did love the experience. It doesn't take that much time to walk through the entire thing, so I would strongly advise to go. And the gift shop was taunting me, because I promised myself that I wouldn't bring any unnecessary coffee mugs from my trips anymore, but they just had to have so many mugs and just slap this in a huge, ginormous mug on display and just taunt me with it. So all left to do for that day was to have lunch and then walk around the city. We did get tapas for lunch, which I made a reel on my Instagram about, rating the food, sharing my experience at the place, so you guys should check it out on my Instagram. I will put all the links down below. And then we walked around the city. If you're looking for a spot in Barcelona to see something beautiful, to just walk around, maybe have a crepe or some ice cream, there's nothing like the Gothic Quarter. It's beautiful, there's all this gorgeous buildings, and the main cathedral is also somewhere in that area. And we did have the crepes, we did ponder the beauty, so that was a nice night, and that was a wrap of the first day. The second day and the day of the departure, I had to make the most of, so we did continue the art theme, and we went to the Contemporary Art Museum, the MACBA, M-A-C-B-A. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it like a word, but that's what it's called. And it was really large. It was like a real deal compared to the smaller museums that we went to the day before. But admittedly, I think that was my least favorite out of the three, because it was more so, again, contemporary than modern, and it was very performance heavy. Like, there would be whole exhibits where they would be dedicated to performance artists, and you would just see their performances on the screens, and you could read about them, see the pictures, and read about the artist, which is nice. But I am a very visual person, so I don't go to museums to be told that something happened. You know, I probably sound like such a horrible person, but it was nice, it was interesting, but it was definitely like the least exciting of the three. The exhibit that I probably liked the most was the exhibit dedicated to the Oaxaca, Mexico legends. That was really interesting. But besides that, again, if you're on a time crunch, I would probably not recommend this one as much. But again, if you're trying to cover as many museums if you can, all power to you. Go to that one as well. Also, I had to continue my Gaudi streak and went to Palau Guell, which is a palace, again, by the famous architect Gaudi, specifically famous for the rooftop. Because on the rooftop they have this beautiful like pyramids or like towers with the colorful tiles, which are really, really beautiful. So I really wanted to look at them up close, so I had to go to the rooftop. It is also very much a tour thing. And with museums, and especially like buildings that you can visit in Barcelona, it's always the question of should you get the audio guide and get the full experience, because there is so much information packed in there, and there's a lot of things that you wouldn't really enjoy by just looking at them without hearing about them, especially if it's a building that's empty now but used to have someone living in there, like Casa Batllo or like Palau Guell, because sometimes there would be an audio guide number on like a plain wall and you would just have to hear about it. Or do you not get the audio guide and save a lot of time? Because honestly, I went to the palace more so for the rooftop than the palace itself, which by the way was actually really beautiful too. And I didn't expect it to have like a very, very traditional palace vibe. We did see like a dungeon looking thing. We did see the stained glass, and like just the interior itself was very, very palace, very, very castle almost, which was really cool too. But again, I was mostly there for the rooftop. I was on the time crunch. I didn't get the audio guide, so I mostly just rushed through the castle just to go to the rooftop. But the rooftop is so worth it. It's gorgeous, and I really loved seeing those little towers up close. Even though if you are looking to spend more time in the location, in that regard, I would more so recommend Casa Batllo, because they actually have a rooftop bar there, which is super cool. Crowded, but super cool. And the palace pretty much just only has, you know, the view and the building itself. But I definitely do not regret going there. It was so beautiful. And the last accord was the fourth museum on the trip, if you don't count the two Gaudi houses as museums, which you could. But fourth official museum on the trip, the Maritime Museum. And it was actually really close to my hotel, which was very convenient to be able to go there and then just go straight back to the hotel and to the airport. And I did stay right next to the marina, so makes sense for the Maritime Museum to be there. But it was honestly so interesting. I was just expecting to look at cool ships. But, you know, it ended up being such a huge educational experience and very gamified too, which again, the Spanish are good with that. They had like video films that you could see about the exploration of the seas by the Spanish, about the founding of the city of Barcelona, which was also really cool. And the main attraction of the museum is this huge life-sized replica of a galley, and I learned so much about galleys on the trip. Like, I'm smiling right now, but it's actually not a fun thing to learn at all, because apparently the galleys were just this hotspot for death, infection, and misery. And apparently they smelled so bad that you could smell it before you would even see it on the horizon, which is insane. Because all these people who weren't even always slaves, sometimes they were free people who just wanted to make some quick but hard-earned money, or people who had to go there because they were in debt, which is also, again, very sad on its own. And apparently they lived, ate, slept, and died on those benches where they actually, you know, worked, where they kept the galley moving. And they pretty much had like 50 centimeters of personal space, and that's it. And for some people, that was the end of their life. That was everything they saw until they died, which is horrible. And that really, really clashes with how that royal galley was so beautifully decorated, and there was probably lots of money spent on that, and there was, you know, gold and those huge beautiful lanterns. And then literally a level down, so many people were suffering and getting sick and dying. So That museum was for sure a very educational experience. I'm making it sound super gruesome. It's really not. It's maybe only that one part, but they actually have displays for every single point in history of, you know, building ships, of wharves, of navigating the seas. And if I could, I would spend more time there because there's just so much to learn, and the way that they construct those displays is so immersive, so entertaining, so gamified. So I really, really like that kind of museums as well, where it's not just plain history being shown to you, where you're made to kind of feel what some things were like, see what some things were like, because they had those screens where there were people dressed as the time period telling you stories. They also had exhibits where you could like see yourself at a wharf and like peek behind wood planks and see ships being built. So that was really, really cool. So that's definitely a less obvious pick, but a really cool experience, a really cool museum that I would really, really recommend visiting. I am very familiar with Spain because I live part-time in Spain, so culturally Barcelona wasn't that much of a surprise to me, but out of the Spanish cities that I've been to, Barcelona is definitely one of the favorites. As an art lover, as a food lover, as an architecture lover, that's definitely a place to be. So if you're any of those things, I would 100% tell you that you should visit Barcelona. And in the meanwhile, thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a like if you had a good time. Tell me which of those places you'd like to visit or you've visited before and how you liked them down in the comments. Tap the notification bell to never miss an upload, subscribe, and until next time, goodbye!